happy for you. I thank you again for writing your book. Um, I was I read it while I was away on my trip a few weeks ago, and I just could not put it down. I'm sorry for the things that you have endured, and also recognize that that is what makes you you. Um, and I just wanted to ask you some questions. I outlined, like, I went through and
I appreciate it.
underlined
Oh,
and wrote
it
questions.
touched my heart. Like whenever I see like I mean that it resonated with you. Every time I hear I get feedback, it makes me like more motivated to finish my second book.
I'm
I,
sure.
yeah, I think if you have finished the book, the healing journey like comes like in the second book, and that is, I think, it can be more interesting, like to know what was like my my path. How did I go through the journey? So I appreciate your feedback and your insights. It helps a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for taking time to do this. I'm a life coach, and as I told you, I just finished my degree in behavioral health and trauma. Um, so I'm turning a corner. I'm heading in a different direction. I'm not entirely sure of what that's going to look like. But just like last week, I was the keynote speaker for a women's event. So I often, speak to women or work with women. And I just felt like your story is so impactful and empowering. I wanted to do an interview so that we could interact more and so that people could, your story can continue to have impact in a different
Yeah,
sphere.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I would love that.
Okay. So I printed off, I don't know how much time we'll have to get to all of my questions, and I didn't even get through the whole book. But I mean, I read the whole book, but didn't write questions outlining the whole book. So the first comment or thought that I had when I read your book was your mother stated that you were exactly what she prayed for, as a beautiful flower, and just how important that relationship, how instrumental that is in a woman's life to hear that and grow up with that your whole life. That must have really given you some strength and resilience.
Mhm. I think this is so. You're the first person exactly asking me question about inside the book, and that
Okay.
makes me more passionate to talk about it, not the whole idea of the teams. And especially this is so okay, close to my heart. What I love about my name, Maryam, is the meaning of that, and also because of my mother's, like, she know what it means and she gave that name to me. So it's so close to my heart, and every time I feel like I see some like challenges or any pain in my or adversity in my life, I just go back to where I came from, and especially my name, and what is its name, like the brightness, the drop of the sea. Then I remember that no, this is just a process. This is a journey. I loved even when I was born, and this flower is coming to every day should bloom, and that's make me to like to persist, to go on, to move forward, and never give up.
Yeah. And you, according to your story, you really needed that. You really needed
Exactly.
that.
I think if my mother was not that strong, I wouldn't be able to come to this far, to really go to my um childhood trauma, really work with my father wound trauma, and so many moments that I never could think, and I thought like it's not reality. That gave me so much strength to go through my healing deeply. Every time anything happens, I move forward. I That resilience is, I think, is
Yeah.
from my mother.
Yeah. I resonate with that too. I'm the youngest of 6 of my mother's children, but I look the most like her, and according to my siblings, I act the most like her. So I understand what you're saying.
My mother also went through PTSD, but they are in a generation they don't really understand what is PTSD. I mean, I had the honor, I had the opportunity to really work with myself with him. My mother went through very difficult time after she
Mhm.
also moved from Afghanistan. I think her traumas were even more than mine. But the thing is, I spent a good amount of time with her. She got married at 13, and she had her first child when she was 14 or 15. And I'm the second child. So I guess I was like 15 or 16 when I was born. When you live with the trauma, with generational trauma, when you live in war, and in an oppressive system,
Yeah.
mm, then we tend to get old like
Yes.
faster, or
She's
maybe
lived many lives. She's lived many lives, according to
exactly,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to pivot a little bit. Obviously, we come from different cultures and different religions. I just want to understand better. Um, and I appreciate you just putting all of that in your book about those things. You said from a young age you were told that you looked Afghani, and that was intended to be an undervaluing statement. There was a lot of racism. What does that, can you just explain that a little bit more to our Western minds?
Yeah. So where I was born, in Iran, Afghans are labeled as Afghanis, so it is at the end. And whenever they call you, of course, now it has been some changes among people's mind and thoughts, but the government is still like is very discriminating, is still going on. So the same as 50, 60 years ago, is still going on, the same systematic racism and the discrimination. But what I want to say is the Afghanis was has been a label. So when they call you, it's like a swear. When I was a child, I was hearing from children in the streets, in the whenever you go to the market, it's so easily like used. And from even the beginning, like in the as a child, I was feeling that I am unwanted. I was feeling that I am a refugee, and not like a normal refugee. I am like very someone unwanted, someone who is doesn't have any worth, doesn't have any value. And even when I came to Sweden, I didn't know that I'm carrying those even traumas from that country. So every time I was meeting, I have so many Iranian friends. I love them. But the thing is, whenever I was meeting in Iranian people, I was like getting anxiety, and I didn't know why I feel like that. I didn't want to meet them. I didn't want to talk to them. This trauma, this flashback was coming from my childhood that for so many years, I just buried them, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to even hear. But there is like you have to go back. You will face that. You will see that from news and every mm, incident that happened. Mm, this is the labels usually they call. So that's something that I was carrying with me, and was defining how I look like, what kind of woman I am. Like Afghanis are like ugly people, uneducated people. and have no value. And especially if you are even woman, then you have even less value. That was something that shaped my life for so many years.
Wow.
Now I have gone through that, and with real deep healing. So whenever I hear, I don't have the same, I just hear it, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my emotions because I have now reconciled with my souls and I know who I am, uh, like my word, my values, everything that was affecting me before, which was many things, not just one thing. Uh, it doesn't exist today.
Right, because you've done that, deep healing work, which I have too, and so many women that I know have done, which is so important, and which why I picked trauma as an emphasis in my coursework because it's so prevalent. So remind me again, you were raised in Iran, but that's not where you were from originally, correct?
Exactly. My parents are from Afghanistan, and when they were teenagers, my mom was orphanage, and my father as well. So when they were teenager, they came. My mother was like a child, like 9. I have written in the book. I don't remember, but my mother's family moved to Iran. They escaped also that war, and my father as well. So they lived a long time, 3 decades, more than 3 decades, and still they didn't have any identity or ID card because of the rules and the system they had. So they are originally from Afghanistan, and even if you are born there, uh, if you don't have any parents from originally from Iran, so then you will be called also refugee. So
Okay.
you are not going to get any ID or passport. Um, and what means is they're going even to school, having education is difficult for you. So you will be treated exactly as someone who has come maybe newly. Like even if you're born there, you will be treated the same as other Afghan refugees, like the same as my parents.
I want to go back to Afghanistan and the females that presently live there. Um, do you think that people still view them the same way that you described that you were treated like when you were younger?
Like
Like
in
you said
Iran,
that Afghani was a slur, a racial slur, basically. Is it still like that there?
in Iran, yes, it
Okay.
is. So it is still the same. I mean, maybe it has been some changes with the people's education, but it's still the racism is still the same. Just uh, 2 years ago, they deported Afghan refugees who have lived more than 5 decades, 4 decades, and their children are born and spent all their life, young life, like they were like 20, 30 years old. They were deported. And that is like a very deep discrimination,
Yeah.
where when you don't have any right to live, to education, so that is awful, and it is the same. So the system has been just circling the same year by year, decade by decade. I don't see any difference than with my parents' time and my time when I was born, and it's now when I have like we still have family relatives in Iran. They are from my mother's side, and my cousins are were there, like they were born there in Iran. They were like they spent all their all their life. They had no idea about Afghanistan. They don't know anything. They cannot even speak the language, the culture. They don't know anything. They just know everything about Iran, the culture, the history, everything. They live there, and they feel part of like their identity. They feel like they are part of that country, even if they don't have like official ID. But they were deported. All the families were deported to Afghanistan without any question. So this is
Wow.
happening, and that is like the discrimination is so hard, so
Yeah.
painful when you see that you are living in a country your whole life, and still you are not valued. Um, that is very painful.
So are they looked down upon within their own country?
So there is a difference. There are people in Afghanistan. Not everyone has migrated to another
Okay.
country. So those one that has been refugee or immigrants in other countries, and specifically in Iran, um, may this is how it goes. But in
So
Afghanistan, in Afghanistan there is a different story when it comes to women rights. Women, Afghan women are now the Taliban. So when I was there in Afghanistan, um, the Taliban was not in power. Still, you had right to education. Um, was a time of like transition, people coming out, they're sending their daughters to schools, like it was after war. um Now it's completely different. Now again Taliban has came to power, and the last 3 years women are not allowed to be in the public. So it's the same situation as it was 2 3 decades ago. So the second part of my book, which is about like when we moved to Afghanistan, when I was 13, we moved back to Afghanistan in hope of education, in hope of having better life, specifically be able to go to school and educate ourselves. And at that time was the time when US and all many foreign forces came to Afghanistan to help Afghanistan be free of Taliban. Which now, when you see the history, it feels like, for me, it feels like a joke.
uh,
They came to bring democracy, they came to defend their women's rights, and now you see, like within 1 year, all is gone. So, yeah, I mean, when you see I had so much hope about democracy, about women's right, about equality, all these concepts that was coming from the Western countries to us in Afghanistan, in a place that is it's conservative. People don't even understand what is democracy. They don't even, they are just living just to have daily food, um, to survive. And these all like theories of like democracy, and let's bring this country like freedom of speech and all these media. I had so much hope that Afghanistan will be in peace, Afghanistan will be a very democratic country, and we will have women's freedom, women's rights in Afghanistan, and we are going to build every day. We are going to build. I mean, even me as a woman and as a someone who really, I don't call sacrifice, but I really feel like I fought so much in those at least 1 decade of my life to bring peace and make the situation for other Afghans better, for another woman better. So the next generation, my sisters, my brothers, they can have better life. They have better understanding about education, about freedom, um, and how like an educated country, an educated society with educated women can bring peace, can completely improve the country in every branch, in every every section. So for us was so difficult, I would say, than my sister, because people getting more educated uh, by seeing as a as a sample. And I'm not alone. What I say, me, like so many women, young women in 2004, when just schools opened after 20 years, so people was like in shock. They didn't know, they did have never seen a woman in media, a journalist
Right.
woman. They never see women go to school, high school, even university. So everything was new for them. And we had so much challenges at that time to go even to street, to go to media, to represent ourselves that we are a voice. We had so much challenge, but we fought every day. We fought in hope of like bringing more peace and democracy in our country. Um, but then, like what happened 3 years ago, it was just I was just in fear, in tears.
Yeah,
It
sure.
felt like all things that I did for that decade of my life living in Afghanistan, and I'm just one person and so many other people that they had this hope, they carried this hope. Suddenly, all were taken.
Mm,
And not only that, was that also that you work your whole life, you fought, and then suddenly someone comes and say, "You don't exist as a woman. Your gender, you are woman, you are nothing. You are not allowed to go to street. You are not allowed to go school. Just stay home. No more education. You are not allowed to be in the society. Don't exist. Don't live. Just live for your husband. That's all. Stay at home." I mean, that is like a shock. That's crazy. And we were supported by these huge, like Western countries that gave us this hope. They gave us this concept. We didn't know that,
right.
and suddenly they took it away. Like it meant nothing for themselves, what they're talking about, and even for ourselves. So mm, now is like kind of it's a moment of so deep hopelessness
Yes.
for people of Afghanistan, um because they don't know what to do. I mean, okay, you go do the demonstration, but the thing is, when everything that you believed in, everything that you thought, this is it. Like I had so much belief in democracy, I had so much belief in peace and women's right, and now I'm thinking, I'm questioning everything. That what this is something that was given, like imagine like something the you are raised by a mentality that your parents has given you, and you grow up with that, and then suddenly in one day they take it from you. You feel like you're nothing. You don't.
Right.
You feel like everything that you worked with was nothing. And for us as a that young generation, when we faced with when we were giving like this idea of like democracy and liberalism, uh, and it was gone. It was gone. It gives you also a shock. So a lot of people that I'm talking to now, at me, I mean, I came 10 years, 11 years ago, but the ones I'm talking to that came exactly after Taliban 3 years ago came and took the power, and they were forced to escape the country. Uh, Otherwise, they would have been murdered, killed in Afghanistan. They are in such a trauma and pain they you cannot explain.
Mm,
You go through the loss, like identity loss. and
Mm-hmm.
everything that you rebuilt and believed in and is gone.
And I desire democracy for all people in the way that you're describing it too. And you have done a lot for your women, Maryam. You have. You're a pioneer. And everything that you have done and lived is a ripple into your culture. And you've left a
Thank you.
mark, a really positive mark. Um, so I understand what you're saying. Like that feels like it's all taken away. And it's the Taliban running everything and making it difficult for democracy. Is that correct?
Um, the the Taliban could came back to power um, in 2021 by an agreement that was done in Doha in Qatar with the USA. So I would say, I mean, there is no democracy now. The Taliban just came and made it like a Islamic government, very fundamentalist government system
Okay.
in the country.
Back to your book. Um, you wandered off. You told a story about how you were 3 years old and you wandered off, and that you made it home safely after a very long journey, which I can only describe as a miracle. I think somebody said that to you. One of your parents said, "This is a miracle." I truly see that as well. It reminded me of stories in the Bible that I have read where there's been divine intervention and protection. I can't see any other way that you made it home as a 3 year old so safely and protected.
Yeah.
And you also go through your whole book, just describing how situations where you weren't protected, um, you know, a, a, an account of a devastating perpetration that you had against you, and then how there was this ongoing potentially dangerous situations just walking the streets, like you said. That you described things in your book that seemed to be a constant fear and something that you constantly had to be on alert for, like that you couldn't freely walk from here to there without maybe threat of violence. Is that accurate?
In Iran, we were illegal refugees, so you are already exposed um, uh, to danger because,
Yeah.
like, who you are, and we were living in a distant area where, I mean, Afghan refugees, they cannot live in a, I would say, what do they call it? Like a very um high class area, they are divided. So as an Afghan refugee, like my parents also, my father was a construction worker. We were poor, and we were living in a distant area, and that area was already unsafe. And when you are like as a woman and exposed as a Afghani, then you are already in danger. So the way you protect yourself, or the way they call you like as a good girl, modest girl, is by the way you wear, you dress yourself, like the way you have chador. So even though I say, even if you have chador, you still are exposed to danger. But that kind of like dress code help you at least to be less in danger
Okay.
than, like, yeah. So this is like kind of how people are perceive a good girl, or like a not good girl or bad girl, like a modest girl, like they differentiate you in the public. And when you live in an Islamic country, that is the rule. That's, you have to follow, obey, and obey and act and be like a modest woman. So that is the dress code. And in Afghanistan, it was the same. I would say now, like in Afghanistan, was different, but people were not accustomed, not used to see women in the public. So it was very usual to uh, get exposed to be harassed in public and in the streets just because of who you are, because you are a woman. And they had this mentality, there was this kind of mentality that if you are a good woman, if you're a modest woman, you stay at home. You
Okay.
don't go to public, you don't go to school, you don't do anything that is unmodest.
Okay.
Or, yeah. So this is kind of like mentality um, they had. I would say in Afghanistan, it was after 3 decades of war, and people were uneducated. People just came out of the war, and there was just coming peace, and not they were not used to seeing women in media, women outside. So there was nothing like to even like have the image of a woman. That was for them like was kind of everything was new.
Okay.
And I would say it was unsafe. The times I was here, it was unsafe. It got better years by years, until the Taliban came back into power.
Yes. In general, this is what I'm hearing you say, that women, like you said earlier, are just modesty is outward in appearance. You dress a certain way if you're modest and you're a good girl, you said. And
Exactly.
you are at home. You're not even in public, let alone running things in public or just being a person who's a female in
Yeah.
public. Yes. And thank you for sharing everything. I just really appreciate you sharing from your heart and your
Yeah.
experience. Um, so you describe through your book this constant and lifetime uphill battle just to receive an education. That was just a constant battle in your book. You said it wasn't about getting good grades, which you did. You did get good grades, but it was about carrying the dreams of your mother and her unfulfilled aspirations.
Yeah. I think the biggest part of my ambitions, like my vision, was to get education to change not only my life but my parents' life as well. So I think somehow my mother gave me this inspiration because I don't see it much in my brother and my sister. Um, I think they gave me this strength and also inspiration that you will be the rescuer of our life, and you have to go on. You have to be that first person to change everything, to change, to go to the school, be the first to go to school, be the first to go university, be the first to be author in our family, or be the first to go through healing in our family. So I think in the beginning, when I was a child, I had this dream of getting education to be able to change um, everything that was against us, to make it like possible. And that dream, I just kept going, kept more and more, became like be ambitious, have a vision. And I think women, ambitious women, of course, they go through so much pain.
Yeah.
Um, but when you go through the healing and really with the along with the strength that you have, I think then nothing can stop you. But if you're an ambitious woman and still you are in war within, if you cannot face yourself and who you are, then you are in trouble. I see
Mhm.
today so many ambitious women, like so talented. But when you sit and talk to them, you see how much they have resistance inside.
Mhm.
What they are talking, how they are representing themselves is just a way um, to hide deep inside what they have inside because they cannot face still themselves. And that is, I see that that's why I feel like every woman should go through healing because
Yes.
we think that is that gives us pain, which it gives. But when you go through the healing, it gives you so much power that you have kept inside. And when you
Mhm.
release it, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. You still
I
go
agree.
through the daily life, but you are not going to. I think the biggest and the most difficult war in life is the war within. When you are in war with yourself and you cannot accept who you are, you're just resisting it and you're just pushing away to like to be the best, to be the best speaker, to be the best businesswoman, to be like outspoken, to be leader outside. Or when you come home and you have nothing, you feel like you cannot even tolerate yourself. And that is who I was.
Mm.
And I changed that. So I have all the strengths, all the vision I have. Also, I am in peace with myself. So when
Mhm.
I'm coming home, I just want to be with myself. I just want to spend with my soul, just to just to be with me. And that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Like it's full of peace.
It
So much
is.
peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah, that identity, that's so well put too, Miriam. Thank you. Um, that inner healing is scary. It can be scary. It's painful. The pain's there. The
Yeah.
pain comes out in different ways, whether we think it does or not. Like you're
Mm.
saying, like, cover up or put on this front or a mask, or just, fall apart when you get home, depression, anxiety, whatever. Um, but it's that inner healing and taking time to heal the little child within, really, um, and being at peace with yourself and your identity. That identity is so important. And um, thank you for talking about that. I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. And also, I feel like I can walk women through certain things because I've walked through certain things and I've gotten to the other side. And I
Mhm.
hear you saying that too. I see that in your posts, and that sense of like, you can do this. And it's just what you just said. Nothing can stop you when you are healed and you have that sense of identity. There's nothing that can stop you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's very true.
Can you talk a little bit? You live in Sweden now, is that right?
Yes,
Can,
yes.
can you talk a little bit about the differences, like uh, with racism, where you live now, and how different that is from where you grew up? You did talk a little bit about that, but what's it like for you now?
I think I am now working on the second book, which is all about my journey of rebuilding myself and my life in Sweden, and then how I went through the healing after PTSD. I'm working on that. I mean, if you just talk about discrimination and racism, is not at all comparable. Like you cannot compare that. Of course, like Sweden is um, very democratic, very uh, like you have access to everything. You you have all opportunities to educate yourself, to work on yourself. Um, so as an individual, it is not comparable, like from where I came from, like from Iran or Afghanistan. Um, of course, there are some limitation in the systems, but I don't see it like as what do we call it, as a limitation. Like as an individual, I always see to find opportunities, to find ways that I can grow and be a good contribute well in the society. So like the I would say the difference is a lot, and I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to to rebuild myself and have this time to go through the healing and grow.
I'm curious also about if you want to just, I know this is going to be your second book, but could you just tell me about your healing journey and maybe what therapies you've utilized or how, what that looked like in general?
For me, my healing journey was not just one time, because I realized I went to I started my business 4 years ago in 2021. I worked as a marketing and business coach, and I was really successful. And along the journey, I went through healing. Like when it comes to your confidence, how you talk, how you represent yourself. So I went through healing, and I was really good and successful with my mission of helping women, like mm, with the mindset and the marketing and coaching. So I would say I was successful, but the main problem was how I was feeling inside. So, and that came when I realized that my healing journey, I have still so many deeper layers inside that even from childhood, I wanted to bury them. From childhood, did- I removed them from my mind. And I was thinking, I had this image that this had not happened. This is just it happened in my dreams. So I
Mm-hmm.
was so like delusional, you can say.
Okay.
I couldn't accept that. And that was something that held me back. Because when you go through a journey, you reach out to a point where you feel like there is something deep that is holding you back, that you cannot, everything that you are saying, it feels like it's not real, feels that it's not you. You are hiding. You're helping, changing so many lives, but still inside you are hiding yourself. You are still filtering yourself. You have a mask, and that
Mm-hmm.
is not the mask for others. It's for you. When you are filtering yourself for you, then that is a huge war. And I had so huge resistance. I just didn't want to face that. So my deeper layers of healing happened. um so I had the first healing when it was like with the PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
um the things that happened in Afghanistan as a journalist, and when I came to Sweden, it was the PTSD. But my childhood healing, which was even deeper level, it happened with writing my book. When
Okay.
I wanted to write this book for 10 years. And every time, because I'm a good storyteller, I was a journalist, I could write. So the
Mm-hmm.
problem was not the writing. The problem was facing those stories and really write. And the whole journey of writing for me took maybe, I rewrote it 20, 30 times. And every time I was going and reading it, then I thought, this is, you are still filtering. Your sensory is not you. It is not you. You are filtering this reality and this reality. So every time I was writing a story, I was redoing it, recreating, rewriting it again to become exactly what happened.
Mm,
And that helped me, that made me to be truthful to myself and
mhm,
accept that what happened, this happened in my life, and I have to
mhm,
accept that. That really helped me to go. It was so
mhm,
painful, so vulnerable journey of my life. But it was after I wrote it, after I was done, when it was completely refined, done, then it was like I felt like I'm not carrying anymore those fears, shames, and traumas. So I would
mm,
say part of that was the first part of my healing was about trauma, but the deeper level of my healing was about shame. You know, shame is so much deeper than trauma. And I say there's difference. Trauma is something that, okay, you have a flashback, that something happened, but the shame is something that you're carrying for generation, and then
mhm,
you are not ready to even face them and accept them. So
mhm,
that was something that I really needed to work. And that's why today I'm talking about unshaming a story, because it is like we are women, a lot of women carry that shame, even they know or they don't know.
mhm.
And they don't know how much it affects their identity and how they represent themselves.
Right. And what that's holding them back from, um, keeping them back from and living their most flourishing life.
Exactly, yeah. What they are holding back is how spiritually they can be free, and they don't know, like they don't know how peaceful is the other side, how much how much it will affect who they are and their relationship with their family, friends, partner, work, everywhere. Like when you wake up, how do you perceive yourself during the day? That's a lot of the difference. Like with unshamed woman, I call it unshamed woman is a woman who doesn't care what other people thinks, who is not carrying the shame. So she defines what she like, what she values. She knows her value, and she is not affected by system, by conditions, by any more programming. She knows, she chooses and values consciously. And you cannot do that if you have inside your mind, if inside you are still carrying this shame.
Mhm.
You are affected. The way you
Right.
behave, the way you talk, the way you perceive yourself, define yourself, coming from this shame.
Right.
And yeah, so I tell every woman, not even healing, I tell them to unshame yourself, your story.
That's good. Yes.
Thank you.
Because we have those cultural shames too, in those cultural shaming societies, and the ones that we put on ourselves or other people put on us, which affects the way we see ourselves and the way we see the world. And like you said, impacts, we don't realize how that impacts every relationship that we have and everything that we do.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've been talking about an hour, so I'll wrap this up, but I'd love to talk to you again. I would love that.
That's good.
Um, okay, well, I'll just leave with the last question that I had here. So you had an editor when you became a journalist, and that was a whole part of the story in your book as well. So you had an editor that told you that people are not used to a woman who won't be silenced, which is where the title of your book must have come from. Um, so how has your experience been exploring how that kind of courage that you had is not always met with applause, um, as you pioneered that? Because you did pioneer that, you really did. So how was that always not met with applause? The woman who wouldn't be silenced.
Everything was challenged. Like going to educational institute, school, be a journalist woman. Everything I was doing and fighting for was against these norms and that a modest woman should be. So um I would say everything, like everything that, like even women's existence was a challenge there.
Wow. Wow.
And there are very few people, I would say very, very few people that were educated and knew really, understood really that how women's education can change whole society.
Mm,
I was hurt by so many men in Afghanistan, but
mhm,
also I was supported by very, very few in Afghanistan.
mm,
They were very few. I had teachers that really, like, they really helped me.
mhm,
Because at that time, I didn't have any support from my father, and he didn't have that understanding. So I had the teachers, I had my professors that really helped me. Very few in the media I was working helped me, understood the, like, the value of a woman, educated woman. Very few, but they also shaped how I was. Like, they helped me to keep going. They helped me
mhm,
to be a voice in the society. And I am very grateful. I wouldn't say that we had, as a woman, we had a challenge. And we were also hurt by uneducated men.
mm,
But I was one of those people that I also see, like, when you see an educated man who understands the value of an educated woman,
mhm,
everything changed. And we needed at that time, we needed more educated men and educated women.
mm.
Um, so I would say, yeah, everything was challenged at that time. Everything was challenged.
I guess one last thing on the recorded part. With what's going on in Iran presently, I saw that you were posting support for the women to free the women, um, just as quick as you can, I guess. How do you see that happening?
What I wish and what I want is women's freedom. Because I am a woman, and I know the country, um, in Afghanistan, like Taliban, now women don't exist. And in Iran also, even though women's situation are a bit better for Iranian women, but I don't wish that country be the same as today in Afghanistan. So I support women's freedom um, in Iran as well, and I wish that they have freedom. They can choose what they want to wear, what they want to talk, how they want to be in public. I want them to be free, because only the people who have been in war and even post-war understand really how painful it is, because we have already gone to the journey of war, how women are erased in the society. And when you see that is happening in another country, it feels like you feel them, you understand them. And when it
Hmm.
comes to Iranian women, I feel part of me belong to Iran, because
Hmm.
half of my life I spent in Iran, even if I was like Afghan refugee. But I was raised here. I knew about the language, the culture, the system, everything. I was in the public schools. So I would say part of my soul belong feels like I am from there.
Mm,
That's why everything that's happening in Iran also affects me. And I want um, every woman to be free, every woman to have the right to decide and choose for herself.
mhm. Well,
Yeah,
thanks for sharing those thoughts.
I hope it was helpful. Yeah,
Yes, it is. Thank you.
thank you.
From somebody that understands and that has lived through it. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I I want to continue to um, share your story. However, I can do that, and it's really impactful. So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.